Coleman, a respected and sharp black female judge in a mid-sized city, show a court session where she presides over a case involving systemic issues, e.g., police misconduct. Enter Officer Greg Stanton, a racist cop with a history of abuse who's testifying in a case involving police brutality. Tension builds during cross-examination as Judge Coleman firmly challenges Stanton's testimony, exposing his lies and misconduct. 2. The tension escalates. 3,000 words. Stanton grows visibly agitated under Judge Coleman's scrutiny, feeling humiliated in court. Outside the courtroom, Stanton vents his anger to his colleagues, expressing racist sentiments and plotting to intimidate Coleman. The narrative shifts to Coleman's personal life, showcasing her strength, resilience, and the challenges she's overcome to succeed in her career. Flashbacks reveal how racism and sexism shaped her determination to seek justice. The confrontation, 4,000 words. Stanton storms into the courtroom after a session, accusing Coleman of bias and disrespect. The confrontation escalates as he verbally assaults her, using racial slurs, and gets physical, shoving her in front of court staff. Coleman defends herself, revealing she has self-defense training. A physical altercation ensues, shocking everyone present as she subdues him. Security and witnesses intervene, and Stanton is arrested on the spot. 4. The aftermath, 3,000 words. The story explores the fallout of the incident, media coverage, public outrage, and protests against systemic racism. Stanton's history of misconduct comes to light, and he faces criminal charges as well as termination from the police force. Coleman becomes a symbol of resilience and justice, but she also grapples with the emotional toll of the incident. 5. Resolution, 1,000 words. Coleman reflects on the experience, reaffirming her commitment to justice. The story ends on a hopeful note, showing progress in the fight against systemic racism and the power of standing up for oneself. In court. The courtroom had emptied out for the lunch recess. Judge Amara Coleman remained seated at her bench, reviewing her notes on the morning's case. The echo of her gavel still lingered in the air. Suddenly, the heavy double doors slammed open with a force that startled her. Officer Greg Stanton stormed in, his face twisted with rage. His boots pounded against the polished floor as he approached the bench. "Judge Coleman!" Stanton barked, his voice echoing in the empty chamber. "You think you can humiliate me like that in front of everyone?" Amara didn't flinch. Slowly, she removed her reading glasses and set them down. "Officer Stanton, this is highly inappropriate. If you have a complaint, there are proper channels." "Don't lecture me about proper channels," he shouted, his face red. "You're biased. You're trying to ruin my career because of some agenda." Amara stood, her judicial robe flowing around her. She was calm, but firm. "Officer Stanton, I suggest you leave this courtroom immediately before you regret it." But Stanton didn't back down. Instead, he stepped closer, pointing an accusing finger. "You don't belong here. People like you shouldn't be on the bench judging good men like me." Amara's jaw tightened, but her voice remained steady. "This is your final warning. Leave, or I will have you removed." Stanton snarled and crossed the line. He lunged forward, grabbing the edge of the bench in a show of intimidation. "What are you going to do about it, huh?" Before Amara could respond, he reached out and grabbed her wrist. The court staff, still lingering near the back, gasped in horror, but they were too stunned to react. Amara didn't hesitate. Years of self-defense training kicked in. With a sharp twist, she broke free from his grip and stepped back, her eyes locked on his. "You just assaulted a sitting judge," she said coldly. Stanton laughed bitterly. "What are you going to do, fight me?" The answer came quicker than he anticipated. In one fluid motion, Amara sidestepped his next lunge and delivered a controlled strike to his arm, forcing him to stumble. She followed with a swift, calculated push that sent him sprawling to the floor. "You're under arrest," Stanton roared, scrambling to his feet, but his movements were clumsy and unbalanced. "No, Officer Stanton," Amara said, her voice like steel. "You are." By now, the security team had burst into the room, alerted by the commotion. 2 guards rushed forward, restraining Stanton, who was still shouting and struggling. Amara adjusted her robe and looked down at him, her expression unyielding. "In my courtroom, the law is upheld, and no one is above it, not even you." As Stanton was dragged out in handcuffs, the stunned court staff erupted into whispers. Amara took a deep breath and turned to them. Recess is over. Let's get back to work. Would you like me to continue into the aftermath or focus on another part of the story?